Smoke signals from around the campfire.
Hi everyone, I'm Ben. I'd like to talk about where we've come from. For around 300,000 years, I should know this, I'm a filmmaker. Is that all right? So for around 300,000 years, we've lived as hunter-gatherers. And everything that means, intimately connected with our land, with our tribe, and with all of the beings around us. And so that's 96% of the time that we've spent on our planet. That's our normal, that's how we've evolved. And we need those things. We've gone on a sort of departure recently where we're not living like that, and I'm sure, like me, many of us feel perhaps that things aren't quite right in the world at the moment, to put it mildly. So what do we do about that? How do we re-find our tribe? How do we find the things that we've left along the trail that actually we really need, that we no longer have? Because this culture that we have now has not been a conscious decision. We haven't consciously built it. It's been a series of things that have happened, and we've ended up here. But we can change that. So I am here to talk to you about the Frome Forest Project. And I would like to invite you to close your eyes for this next bit, if you would indulge me. So, my brothers and sisters, please imagine on the edge of our town that there is an area of land, let's say 100 acres, and that area of land it belongs to our community in perpetuity. It can't be sold. And on that piece of land, people from our community go to spend time in nature, they go to plant trees. There is a roundhouse, and in the roundhouse there's a group of people who are weaving baskets. Those people have recently been bereaved. They all have this thing in common. And they've been referred there by their GPs. Because making things together from things that we find in nature is really good for us. It's healing. It's what we've always done. And we reconnect with nature, with ourselves, and it's good for us. We also have a group of teenagers in a field next door, and they are learning about medicinal plants that you can find in nature. And they're looking at trees that they planted maybe 5 years before and marveling at how large they've become, and they have a sense of real pride in their chests. So you can open your eyes now, thank you. Just to finish up, imagine that sense of connection with place that those people will have from that project. And I need to finish up now, but I want to say that this vision is completely achievable. We can do this, and we need it. The world needs it. It's how we grow the leaders that we are going to need going forwards. And finally, just to say that we need to bring about the changes that we want to see. We are the people that can do that, and now is the time. Frome is the place for this kind of fertile project, the fertile ground for this kind of project. So, thank you.
The inspiration for what I'm pitching is that I think knowledge has become a commodity to be sold rather than a resource to be shared. And it also tends to isolate and stratify society by having qualifications. And internet courses, although they're great, tend to isolate people, and instead of putting people in touch with other people, they tend to make communities which are distributed and virtual. And so for many years I've had this idea of a internet app or a mobile app that puts people in touch with people on a local level. that are people who have knowledge and skills. Maybe they don't want to set up courses, maybe they don't want to become professional teachers, but they have stuff to share and to put them in touch with people who want to learn, basically. So, this isn't working. So, yeah, okay. So the basic thing is that sharing knowledge feels good. I've been a teacher for 40 years, and I know that, but you don't need to be a teacher. It's just everyone has an expertise. Everyone has an interest. And there are other people who might want to learn those interests. And particularly for older people who have had a lifetime of experience, often their experience is just lost when they retire. And to be able to share that and pass that on to another generation is a great honor, and it's a pleasure. And also younger people do courses, they're fired up, excited by things. They want to share that enthusiasm. So what, yeah, I'm just going to go straight on to this now I'm calling this, I don't know why, if it's a good name, but it works like a dating website. And you have a profile, you're saying what you're interested in, what you know, and it puts people who have a particular bit of knowledge in touch, or skill in touch with people who want to learn that. And we envisage this initially to be a totally free process. So people are doing it for pleasure rather than for money. Although maybe later on, further developments will allow people to set up courses and make money out of it. But I want to take money out of the equation to start with. It's actually just a social thing, a way of helping society to join up. And so the people who have the knowledge, is that the end? Okay, that'll do. So yeah, that's the idea, you've got the idea, and I can talk later about whether, or how far we've got so far. Okay?
Good morning. My name's Jules Ellison, and I'm here today on behalf of Earth Protectors everywhere. Earth Protectors are a growing global community supporting the campaign to make ecocide a crime. This campaign was Polly Higgins' lifetime work as the Earth's lawyer, who tragically died last year. Her work continues thanks to the immense passion of people who realised its amazing potential at this time of crisis. This resulted in a new initiative called the Earth Protectors Communities, a growing network of towns, schools, community groups and businesses all joining together to start living as if the law of ecocide was in place. To celebrate the life of Polly Higgins, the History Press will be republishing her book, I Dare to Be Great, on Earth Day this year, 22nd of April. The book will be accompanied by a toolkit, which is inspired by Polly's journey and created through the Earth Protector pilot programme in Stroud, a story that involved the town council and local NGOs, and a journey where we have been co-creating a regenerative community to protect the earth. We invite you to join us on our quest to protect and regenerate the earth. So we've got this here. The quest starts with a challenge. What does greatness mean to you? Tap into your unique gifts and talents and align them with a common purpose. Then we invite you to become an ecocide investigator and to look in your own backyard to uncover ecocides that you can find inside and out. We next then ask you to draw the pathway, to figure out your pathway forward and to connect with other groups and initiatives that are already happening locally and nationally. We then feed your results up into the global community and help restore planetary health. We recognise there are a lot of problems that need solving in the world today, and this can be overwhelming. Our approach is to figure out what you want to do now, to look inside, to connect with your greatness and the force inside that compels us to take action. Our toolkit will provide the pathway for individuals, groups, and whole communities to make the transitions from consumers to global citizens and find their own unique way to engage in collective action, accelerating the transition from harm to harmony and safeguarding the earth for future generations. What you can do, above all, dare to be great. Sign up and become an earth protector, either as an organisation, a town, a group, which you can do through Earth Protector communities. You can buy the book in April. If you're a Bright Sky member, we're starting to work through the programme on Tuesday, so if you've got a friend who's a Bright Sky, you can join in as well. And we're looking for support to achieve our goals. We want everyone in the world to have access to this. We're developing an online course, which will be part of an app. Thank you. I'm Jules Ellison for Earth Protector Communities.
To start this off, I'd like you to think about what it was like to be a teenager yourself. I don't know if you can remember that far back. The insecurities, maybe, or the questions that you had. If you were anything like me, you probably had a very strong sense of right and wrong. Did we all know how the world should have worked? Yeah? Okay, so I certainly had a strong sense of right and wrong. And my son, who's 14, and his friends, and all the young people I work with, they seem to have this very strong sense of justice and a real desire for the truth. And when I talk to them about how the world works, their response to me is usually, well, that's just crazy. And what I've come to realize is that our young people rebel, and they're rebelling because things really they don't make sense. It doesn't make sense to live in a world where we measure GDP, which means that if your house burns down, if you have an accident, GDP goes up and we consider that successful. Or if you chop down a forest, that's considered to be more successful in terms of GDP than if you preserve the forest. So all of these things are kind of going around our young people's minds, and when they come to us with questions, what I want us to be able to tell them the truth. So Crazy Beautiful World is going to be an online platform where we tell them the truth about what's crazy about the world. That's what they need to know. But we don't just leave it there. We also tell them what's so beautiful, because they need to know about all the adults in the world who are doing wonderful things, like the lawyers who are fighting for social justice for black kids in America. My friend who runs a project which is connecting young people in Palestine to people over here called the Hands Up Project. He does a video storytelling thing with them. They need to know about the Flying Seagull Project, who goes into refugee camps and who, with their clowning and with their magicians and the musicians. There are all sorts of wonderful projects happening in the world. And what I want is for our young people to know that we have their backs. So the Crazy Beautiful website is a place where they're going to go and they're going to find out about the crazy, and we're going to tell them the truth about that, and they're going to find out about the beautiful. And if they want to know more, they're going to also go to the section called Deep, because in the Deep section, there's going to be all sorts of experts on hand to explain how the economic system works, how the system of law and politics works. So the purpose of all this whole project, which I've set up with my son, or the seed of which I'm now throwing into hopefully fertile ground, is really an opportunity to find ways to get in the way of where our children are, which is on the internet, and we need to be there, and we need to provide them with what they need to become free human beings.
Hey everybody, with a high vibration to the HiVibe Magic Bus, the HiVibe Magic Hope Bus. There'll be inspiration to unite the nations on the HiVibe Magic Hope Bus, the HiVibe Magic Hope Bus, the HiVibe Magic Hope Bus, the HiVibe Magic Hope Bus. That is what I'm pitching for today, for a HiVibe Magic Hope Bus. HiVibe, what do I mean by HiVibe? This is my logo for HiVibe Earth, my company. And what this is, as you can see, it's the Ankh, which is the symbol of life. Here we have the womb of the woman, and we have then the divine masculine penetrating the woman to create, boom, boom, to create. And this is what we need to have. This is the whole ethos behind the HiVibe Magic Bus, to have healthy, masculine and feminine paradigms, which we need to see in society because it's become so toxic. So obviously this has to be done in love, and then we have economic freedom through creative expression, and that is what the HiVibe Magic Hope Bus is about. So let me just try and explain to you a bit more about this. At the moment, my current day job is driving a 7.5-ton truck, which is a community engagement facility for Northampton, social housing. So I go into all the areas of extreme poverty in Northampton, and people who have any issues with their housing will come and tell me what's going on, and I have people with me, obviously, to help as well. And so my ideas for my bus have been developed from me being on my truck. So going to go to the next picture, please. Thank you. These are my 3 little boys that I have living with me. And every day my boys wrestle with me because they don't want to go to school. They hate school, they're bored, they can't do anything they want to do, anything that they want to do that's fun or that's interesting to them, they can't do. And if they do start to do something that's beginning to be a bit interesting, then they have to stop it really quickly. It's a wrestle getting them to school, and it feels like child abuse sending them to school. It's horrible. And I really want to stop this. My children are very creative, and what they love doing is making films with their mum and doing stories. And so I want the Magic Tour Bus to start off doing community building things, having the campfire as a performance space, and that's phase 1. Phase 2 it's going to be a mobile recording facility for me to take my children and go into areas of to rural areas and do films, natural films that teach how to use food as medicine, how to use food for nutrition. Oh my gosh, and I'm too late. And then after I've done that, we go to Europe, and then we do a trip to Africa. And all through having economic freedom through creative expression. That's what we encourage on the HiVibe Magic Hope Bus. And I need funding, obviously, for the bus itself, which I'd like to get from the Arts Council, and also I'd like some support, because I think so many of these ideas we could link with Campfire Convention, and we can promote these ideas, and it can be a real fantastic mobile engagement facility for so many of these ideas to happen. Thank you.
You have a secret anti-cancer agent produced in your brain that floods into your body every night, all night, every night. However, modern technology and lighting are disrupting this. I'll explain how and what we can do about it. This ancient molecule is called melatonin. You may have heard of it, but it is much, much more than a sleep hormone or a jet lag fix. It is a multifaceted anti-cancer molecule, a chronobiotic, and one of the most potent antioxidants known. We've evolved over 3 billion years on this spinning planet with the daily light-dark cycle. Our physiology has evolved to function best with bright days and dark nights. We have evolved a biological clock and daily rhythms known as circadian rhythms that are self-perpetuating but kept in sync with the changing light-dark cycle. Light hits receptors in the eye and sends the information to the biological clock, which then tells the pineal gland to either synthesize melatonin or not. At dusk, melatonin flushes through the bloodstream and the cerebrospinal fluid and reaches every cell in the body, synchronizing our cellular clocks and telling every cell it is nighttime and putting cancer cells to sleep. It has a very rhythmic production. The amplitude varies between individuals and dampens with age. It rises and peaks in the middle of the night and then falls by the next morning. At night, the only light that our ancestors saw was that of the moon stars and firelight. 150 years ago, with the invention of the light bulb, we began to extend our day and truncate our night. And very recently, our lights and screens have got brighter and whiter, even more like daylight, leading to an explosion of circadian disruption-related disorders. Female breast cancer is 5 times more prevalent in industrialized countries, and 50% of these are not explainable by conventional risk factors. Western countries are increasingly 24-hour societies, and night shift workers have an increased incidence of cancer, diabetes, obesity, and more. Light at night disrupts our biological clock and suppresses melatonin, and nighttime levels are known to inhibit cancer. And this graph just shows, and it is an animal study, but showing when melatonin is not present in the red graph, how quickly the tumors grow because of very dim light at night, just shown here for the rats rather than completely dark. So they both had 12 hours of light and dark, but the red one had a very dim light. Sorry? Oh, thank you. In midwinter in the UK, melatonin would naturally run for 16 hours, but there's not a human in the industrialized countries that experience 16 hours of melatonin. Can we skip through? No? See ya. Okay. If you just hit 2 more slides. So, another one. And so we have solutions so that we can return to firelight at night. Firelight doesn't contain blue light wavelengths, and so if we can return to firelight colors at night, we can maintain our melatonin rhythm to which we've evolved, and protect, honor our ancient physiology, and reduce cancer as well as metabolic and age-related diseases.
Everybody has the power to be creative, but then some of us have no choice. It's like it's something inside of us driving us forward, and that can be seen as a destructive force, and I'm questioning that. Why is it that creative people burn out or seem to have weird health issues, or sometimes just don't cope as well with everyday life as other people do? And why is that so accepted? So I've been researching health issues for the past 10 years, both myself, my own and other people's, and I've realized that lots of parts of our health systems just don't make sense. They're looking for specific conditions, they're looking for things at certain ages, and the human beings are much more complex and complicated than that. So on a much larger scale, I'm setting up a project to basically start reinventing healthcare from the patient upwards, paying attention to symptoms, paying attention to what people are actually experiencing, and how much of that is actually medically relevant. How much does that tell us not just about who we are and what we think, but what's going on in our bodies? We have pollution, we have stress. What are pesticides doing to our guts? Perhaps creative people who've been judged, not just for not coping, but for, say, turning to drug use to cope, or exhibiting patterns that we might consider to be destructive. What if there's something going on with people who are just that bit more creative and more sensitive to the world that is not only worthy of paying attention to, but is a warning for everybody? So I want to build systems that will gather that information in the longer term, and I'm working with all sorts of partners and the NHS to do that. But in the short term, what can we do to help everybody shine? What are the factors? What are the issues, not just in our hearts and our minds, but in our bodies that might be holding us back? What if more of the mental health issues have to do with physical health than to do with our attitudes? What if everything that the wonderful people that we are and that we know have been doing for personal development and personal growth, what if that's being undermined by our physical health issues? What if we're actually right? What if we do have all the tools, but the reason that they're not being widely adopted is because people don't understand the other factors that are needed to make them work? We have the answers, but maybe we need to have more of the questions as well. So let's help everybody shine and join with me in finding out more about our health, our bodies, and this beautiful world that we live in and how we relate to it. Thank you very much. And I have leaflets at the back, or come and speak to me. Thank you so much.
Feeling the love. Thank you very much. So great to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm here to talk about a youth climate show that's going to debut in Edinburgh Fringe Festival, the biggest arts festival in the world. It's called the Dodo Circus and the Doomsday Disco. It's irreverent, funny, hilarious, and these young people, brilliant. These young people are going to take all the big issues of climate change and use humour to break down barriers and connect, and all the big facts and the solutions will be behind them, so they're just free to be funny. And currently, these young people, they're at a performing arts school, which I should be at right now, but I'm here. And we do West End shows, make award-winning films, and currently we're doing a processional immersive theatre project with edgy Alice in Wonderland. And this is perfect before Edinburgh because we're going to be doing street theatre, we're going to be doing mock protests, and so what we want to do is do a kick-ass brilliant show and have great presence, so then we can take this show into schools. And the skit format means that we can chop and change, and we can perform in schools, but the show can be done by schools and they can add value themselves, yeah? Who's helping? Meg Fenwick, she's an amazing comedian, theatre practitioner in Manchester. She's going to work with the final script with us, so it's top draw. And she's going to do a workshop with the kids. And then also we've got free venue, tech, rehearsal space, all given in kind. The parents are paying for the accommodation and travel. I'm helping. I produce things, albums, festivals, babies, stuff, eco art. You know, it just all happens. And I'm really, really passionate. Some of you know me from the Seed Festival. I work with Embercoombe, Schumacher, Resurgence, blah, blah. And this is my family and my heart. And, you know, I was on the bridge with Extinction Rebellion, but the thing that really lights me up is the youth movement. From 1 to 10 million in a year with public support, this is where I have to be and put my creative juice. So, Dodo Circus and the Doomsday Disco. It's jumping off the soapbox, doing things like God re-engaging Noah to appease wifey because she's gone all hurricane on him. And the dodo as a ringmaster. I can talk about some of the funny skits, that's just too great. But I'm trying to keep my time down. So what do we need help with? We need help, the parents actually, as I said, they're getting the kids up there. We're looking for opportunities like COPS 26 to take it, other opportunities to take the show. We really want this show, props, costumes, and the development to be awesome, a film, brilliant, but we want the profile of it to be ridiculous. So it actually does what it's going to do and be seen, and the kids' voices rock.
Good morning, my name is Bruford Lowe. I've got 3 minutes on co-housing. Oh shit. Wikipedia's definition of co-housing starts, a small community of dwellings clustered around a shared space. You can add to this, usually there is a common house or one or more buildings where residents gather for shared meals, socialising, etc. Often includes facilities such as a laundry, and the land may have shared gardens and allotments. Resources such as cars and tools can also be shared. Generally, dwellings are smaller than the norm, encouraging people to spend more of their time within the community environment. The balance between shared and communal living varies across different communities and within a community. It's not compulsory and it's not a hippie commune, thank God. Co-housing can be driven by housing need in a particular location, often involving community land trusts and a local social housing provider. Other communities, such as mine, are driven by people who have a shared philosophy for whom geography is less important. Right, what needs does co-housing help to meet? Well, it offers a more conducive way of life. We can view others as collaborators, not competitors. We can come together to find fulfillment in shared endeavour. We can become stewards of resources instead of mere consumers, an abiding theme throughout today, I guess. There is more, it's more feasible to set up small-scale renewable energy generation, food growing and micro-enterprise within the auspices of a co-housing community. Eating, celebrating and working together brings a sense of belonging, something that I think we're all trying to get. Co-housing has its challenges. There is often conflict and tension. It's almost unavoidable. But successful communities have legal agreements, articles of governance, and protocols for mediation and conflict resolution, such as NVC and sociocracy, things familiar to us, I guess. Right, my project is called ICLIHA, stands for Intentional Community, Living in Harmony and Respect. Our long-term plan is to have between 10 and 15 dwellings on a site of something like 20 acres, producing our own energy and growing some of our own food. Sort of enterprise and projects we may do include hosting camping groups, rewilding, running residential creative courses, which is my baby, thank you. We want to buy a property, there's 4 of us, we will fund initial redevelopment. The first phase of dwellings will be leasehold purchase, we hope to add rental later. The ownership of the project will pass to the residents eventually. There are 4 families already involved. We're actively looking for a property in Wales. Target date to buy and move in 1st of January next year, although it's more important to find the right place. Any questions? See me afterwards. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Tanya Dawson. This is Mixmaster Morris. In our proposition, we're going to bring together 3 elements: music, space, as in enclosed space, such as where we are now, and community and the future thinking that our communities do. So the music side of it, I'm sure we are bonded by the fact that we have all been to festivals, and we've all had that sensation that at festivals and campaigns we were going to change the world, and just around the next corner is this big shift that's coming. So that links us all together. The Chill Out Room is part of that scene, and Morris is one of the sort of leading exponents of ambient music. He has an encyclopedic mind about this musical form, and he's deeply connected with all the artists and innovators within this field, and would like to curate an event based around the work of the many artists that produce ambient music. Onto space. We would like to hold an event, an ambient event, in 4 venues in Glastonbury or Avalon that are linked. They are 2 minutes apart, and together as separate projects we formed something called an entity called Beckery Village, and it's where it's like the creative quarter of Glastonbury, where we're bringing through sustainable ideas, the ideas for tomorrow, but trying to bring them through today. And the third element to this is community and the thoughts that we as communities have. So the idea is that through putting on an event in 4 venues that we can bimble between, we bring ourselves together. We need right now in this time, we need to gather. We need it for our sanity, for our solidarity, for our exchange of ideas. So we want to put something on. Every single pitch in this room could find space at this event. Every single person who's got an idea, bring it. We need to get this together, because if not, we're going to end up fractured and isolated and distanced from each other. So this is a plea to come together, find ways to come together, and through ambient music, which is not overstimulating, it's calming, it's soothing, it's expansive and generous, we can start to have the ideas that we need to have to anchor in the now, to bring into action rather than just in headspace. We're going to bring it down and put it into the reality in this world which we find ourselves right now. So I'm going to pass over to Morris, who's going to just fill you in with some of the potential content.
Thank you, Tanya. Just to say, we've chosen a name for this now, which is Chill-A-Lot, so keep the Arthurian thing going. It's going to be in Glastonbury Town from June the 4th to 7th, which is like a quiet week in the festival calendar, which we can all make it. And want to get as many local people in Glastonbury and around involved, because there's a lot of new age musicians and healers and massage and yoga people. So as much community involvement as possible. Is that the end or 30 seconds? That's the end. I've got to wind up here then, but you can talk to us in the huddle and we'll tell you more about it. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. In a sense, my proposal is perhaps the most grandiose of the lot. It's about calendar reform. It's down as calendar room, but this is calendar reform. So my proposal is that we change our calendar, which seems like an impossible task, and I'll tell you why. So we use the Gregorian calendar, which was introduced by Pope Gregorius XIII in 1582. And at that time, the Catholic Church was trying to get Easter to be the same time in Europe, all over Europe, because people celebrated the spring festivals at various times over, say, 2 or 3 month period. And to consolidate the power of the Church that was entering into Southern Americas as well. And so they issued a papal bull, a decree, and formed the Gregorian calendar. So prior to that, there had been various forms of calendar developing from Babylon originally. And in Babylon, they created the idea of the 360-degree circle, which divided the heavens and time into a flat plane and took the power of the 13 away. Now, the 13 is a number that is deemed to be superstitious in our culture. And of course, that number is a relationship, more or less, between the lunations, i.e. the moon's circuit, and the sun and the earth. So in one solar year, there's approximately 13 moons. And of course, we know the link between the moon and menstrual cycle of women. And so that we are in a time, basically the Babylonians created this calendar. They took the power of the 12 and created these 30-minute segments of time. And it's in my long 2,000-word thing. I recommend you read it. It's very hard to do this in 3 minutes. But the basic premise is that we've been locked into a false timing frequency, which has been slowly refined over time. So from Babylon, then forward to the Gregorian calendar, which then created a 24-hour day. The day prior to that was measured by sundials and water clocks. And so you'd have a 12-hour day of 30 minutes. But the night wasn't measured. The night was like the dream time. The night was a time where it wasn't needed to be measured. It was only measured because the church created the hours, which were times of a religious observance throughout the night and day. So using hourglasses, they could create this edited experience of time. And from the Gregorian calendar, that then created a 60-minute hour, rather, so that doubled the frequency. So in a sense, your minutes were halved. And of course, now we live in a time where we have nanoseconds and picoseconds, so we're editing things up more and more. So other calendar systems that developed through time, particularly Mayan time science, and again, there's something about this in the article, which I've studied at great length. It's one of my obsessions. Well, there we don't have time, do we, to go into it? You have to read the piece. But the basic premise is to create a calendar, just to sum up, which would be 13 28-day months and 1 day out of time, which is a day for forgiveness and cancelling all debt. So that's the key. And so the idea would be that would then be essentially the end of capitalism as we know it, because at the end. Okay, thank you.
My name is Beth, and I'm introduced you to my project, and we've been to champion the idea of working for the greater good of all, not just the individual. Use my phone. I'm going to be really juggling now. So working for the greater good of all, not just the individual. And this has been an embryo for quite a while now, but last year I put some energy into making a music video, which I called The Magic Money Tree, to act as a beacon to draw people in. So The Magic Money Tree, at the time when I wrote it nearly 4 years ago, I had no idea of the wealth of levels of what that would bring in, the metaphors, and the idea that the tree symbolises our wealth, our wisdom, connection, individually, community, and globally, and I want to use Pippa to launch it as a way of working with our awareness that this, although it seems like magic, it's just what we've forgotten. So awareness is the key to regaining our abundance, and I want to work with the idea of knowing what we've lost first. So we've lost this idea of our wealth and our wisdom. We've gained a sense of separation between our head and our heart, within ourselves, within our society, and our ecosystem. This has created a polarized society, but the fact that this is an illusion because we are still, absolutely still connected. So Marianne Williams said that she challenges the idea that only people who are in the business of politics are the ones who are going to bring us out. And I believe that we're here together because we believe we're the change makers, but if we're part of the solution, we'll have to admit that we're also part of the problem, and I'll be willing to roll up our sleeves, get our hands dirty, and really do the inner work. So Pippa, working with the idea that Einstein said that you have to rise above the situation to create the solution. You can't work from the situation of the solution. So I want to use workshops, meditations, discussions, and eventually conferences to really do the deep inner work first before we start creating a better community, taking the party out of politics, putting the people back in, redressing the I could never say this word, divisive nature of our party political system, and starting to grow as we are, but starting to improve the idea of how we have empowered and responsible citizens. And to do this, I need a website, and I need people to join me. I can't do this alone. So thank you. This is how I've started.
We're gonna shake the money tree, that magic money tree. We're gonna shake the money tree, 'cause there's enough for you and me. We're gonna shake the money tree.
Thank you.
I went out for a walk in January and I was thinking about Campfire, and it's an absolutely beautiful, like, sunny day, and it's crisp and it's like air's clean and everything really cold, and Essex mud slipping around on it. And like I thought, what could we actually do as a group? And as we're all talking, we've all got our projects that we're actually airing, and it's what if we didn't actually, what if we actually made our own kind of Campfire product empire? So we actually create the baby and market it, and put it out into, I was thinking like the communicator of putting it out into like supermarkets, or if we do it like cottage industry, and then we have our own, it's almost like a Campfire world, it's the identity, and we'll spread it, and it's also for the identity of the website as well, and it all ties in. It ties in with everything, it's just so Campfire. It was a start that we sit around and we decide to create a product. We package it, it'd be ethically packaged. We won't have poisons in it. And then we basically do it as a cooperative. Everyone, there's no CAOs or anything. It works on the kudos scheme. Everything goes back into the Campfire. And then we use the Campfire to grow more. And I guess we'll have, some ideas won't work, but we keep on making more and more ideas. And it can be absolutely anything. It can be like virtual reality, it could be food, it could be cosmetics, it could be soap, it could be clothes. And we're basically, between us, I think we can do it. And I get disenchanted when I go into shops and you've got products that are supposed to be like healthy, and you go into like, say like a body shop, where I've hacked a body shop thing there on the Brian Eno album. And basically, if you actually read down in the ingredients and these things, you've got like parabens in them, and there's all like really poisonous stuff in the packaging. And I think it'd be done a lot better. I know there's a thing when you're actually selling things, you get people put contaminants into things and they hold like supermarkets to ransom and stuff like that. But I think between us, if we could actually, I say like with like online, and you can actually sell stuff online. Sorry? 30 seconds. So I think we can brainstorm it and then see what comes up, and it ties up with a lot of other people's ideas as well.
So it's all like a cooperative thing, and there's no like CIOs like creaming off loads of money out of it, and it all goes back, and we're all shareholders in it for the creative input. And I just think it's so Campfire.